thanks for stopping by. I'd like to preface this video by saying it is not a knitting video today, at least not a tutorial. I won't be knitting. I know, depending on when you see this, it is definitely the 1st of January at the time of filming, but I'm not sure when I'm going to upload it. I have some other things I need to film, and I'm not sure what order they are going to be in. So if anything seems a little weird the way I'm explaining it, that is because I have a lot of stuff. There are a lot of mice rolling around in my head, and they just haven't figured out what wheel they want to be on right now. So, yeah. I am back. I had planned to film yesterday and maybe even the day before, like when I got back, but today is January 1st, and so one of the other videos that I just did, I was talking about my trip. And so when I got back on Wednesday, I spent all of Wednesday doing laundry, catching up on some knitting. By the way, when I was on vacation, I did read out of my chapter book that I brought. I did not play cards, but I did knit on the Jumbo Magic number blanket, and I did knit on the cat mat that I'm using as like a scrap project. And I colored some out of the Pusheen coloring book, which I had pictures of those rolling through that video, and you're probably wondering like, what are these for? But that is why. I'm explaining now. I did not explain then that I had colored. So I got through, I think, 3 sheets, and I started from the back. I don't know why. I just felt like starting from the back of the coloring book, working my way up. I even offered to let my partner do some coloring, but they're like, nah, they're good. They're good. So, I had a couple things in mind when I got back home, and one of them was to figure out what I was going to knit for the rest of the year, because as you guys remember, I had made my calendar here, and at the time of filming, I still only have it filled out through mid-April. And I had like listed aunt sock, cousin's boyfriend scarf, my future sister-in-law, that's what FSIL is, socks. And so my aunt is going to have these socks, or not these socks, this yarn, and then my brother's fiance is going to have the Hufflepuff DK weight yarn that I bought from Ravenswood Fiber Company based out of Canada when I did like my random purchase, because they had like some Harry Potter house yarn limited run kind of thing, and I was like, oh, I know she likes Harry Potter, so I asked her what house she belongs to, and then I picked up myself some Ravenclaw because I took a quiz and apparently I'm a Ravenclaw. Anyway, so part of when I got back on Wednesday, I was doing a lot of laundry, and Thursday I finished up laundry, but Wednesday I spent the rest of the time when I wasn't doing laundry going through lots of pattern books. These I actually haven't gone through all yet, and there are some books that I haven't showed you guys. So I thought, well, before I show you guys what projects I'm going to do out of some of the ones that I haven't showed you yet, I'm going to do a perusing pattern books video series. Just wrap up a few more of the pattern books that I have that I haven't showed you guys yet. So somewhere between the video of me coming back and talking about my trip and this video, or maybe a little bit after this video, who knows, there are going to be some pattern book videos in there just to kind of wrap up the rest of those so that it makes more sense when I talk about what I'm going to be knitting for my family. But to let you know now, this notebook that I have was me feverishly going through all of my yarn that I have not used for a project yet. It's still in the wrapper, or enough of it is left that I can give a good estimate of how much yardage or meterage I have of it to use for a project. So I had written all of this down went over to the next page and still had maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 rows of information based on the however many lines are on here. And then I'm like, you know what? This is chicken scratch. This is chicken scratch. So me and my pseudo-organized mind decided to make a Google sheet of all of stuff, and that's what's right here. It's just the sheet. I have the weight, I have the fiber content, the mileage, or like the length of it versus meters and yards, and then I have the color. Like, it's not exact color, but it's like roughly what those colors are, because if I say it's blue, but is it like cerulean? Is it more of a Prussian blue? Is it cornflower? Is it teal? Is it like Pacific? Like, what's the blue? Is it navy? What do you mean blue? So it's just like, it's blue. And then when I need to know for sure, I will go back and look at it. So one thing I didn't do was put the brand, but as long as I have the fiber content, that's what's important to me. So then I kind of have an idea of what things to pair together. Additionally, once I looked through, I noticed that it had a ton of sock weight. Sock weight is dominating. I have a little bit of DK, just a tad bit of bulky, a teensy bit of sport weight, pretty decent amount of worsted, a little teeny bit of weight, of lace weight, and a teensy bit, like 1 ball's worth of super bulky. And then I thought, okay, well, I have all of these weird yarns. Heaven forbid I'm stuck knitting socks again. Not that socks are bad, but sock weight yarn, knitting socks for anywhere from 8 to 10 people is a lot. And if it's already January 1st and I haven't yet cast on, I will be after I'm done filming everything I need to do for the day, but then I'll be casting on, because January, as my first week says, I'm working on my future sister-in-law socks, and the next week is the partner socks, which I'm already working on, and then I'm working on future sister-in-law socks again, and then my last week of January is my Jolie Mimi cardigan. So I'm like, okay, I got January lined up, but I still have to piece together what I'm doing for the rest. So if I do my inventory now, which was kind of part of my goals for 2021, which was to look through all of my yarn again, and so this kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I, one, was able to assess what yarn I have that I can use for my projects, and 2, I just got a better look at what I have. Now, I didn't inventory everything because there are some things that I was gifted that don't have labels, so I don't know the brand, I don't know the fiber content, and I don't know how much of it I have. And 2, there are some things that I've already used that I haven't logged. And then I actually need to log now all of the chroma yarn that I bought during the Knit Pick sale, where I got the chroma yarn that gave me that horrible break between the green and the purple. And so that was just like such a buzzkill. So I have like a good handful of those colors to use, sock weight. And once I have those in the system too, after this video, then I think, well, by the time you see this video, I'll have them all entered into that Excel sheet that I showed you earlier on. But for the most part, I don't really have anything planned for them yet, because they were originally going to be socks for the 2020 holiday year, and then I decided to flip things up just to make better time. So, give or take, when you see this video, I was looking through different guides online because I was curious about being able to combine yarns to make a larger weight. Now, I've used 2-stranded methods before, mainly my kid silk yarn with my baby merino DK to make my cousin's color block cowl 2 Christmases ago. So not last Christmas when I made everybody socks, but the Christmas before that, I made her a color block cowl, and you'll see that somewhere. Don't know where. I think I did it for the holidays. It might be on the holiday playlist. I did end up giving it to her, so I don't know if I added it to the playlist or if I was like later, oh, this would be a great gift, and then threw it in there last minute. I don't quite remember, but it was definitely something I was knitting on in 2019. And so that was the only time that I actually purposely used two strands together to make one flat fiber with a bit of a halo, but I wasn't doing it to make a weight. So I've looked online and I looked at several different resources. I looked at a blog post on Ravelry. There was one I think on Modern Daily Knitting. There was one through a couple other blogs and things, and they all kind of gave the same sort of answer, where depending on, you know, the weight of that yarn category kind of determines the thickness, but it's not a guaranteed weight exchange, because you're thinking of like how the strands are coming together. It might not actually be like next to each other where it is like a true weight. So one person was saying like there's no way to combine two fibers together to make a new yarn weight, like that's just not possible. But others are saying that you can, and this is kind of the formula. Some gave you like a full-on math formula, and I was like, nope, no thank you. It's easy as like gauge 1 plus gauge 2 divided by 3 gives you whatever the new gauge is. Others are saying if you take your two strands and run them through a thingy, not a gauge counter, but like a needle gauge to like tell how wide your needles are. If you run those through like the hole that they most easily run through, then that gives you kind of an idea of what needle size works with that, which doesn't quite tell me the weight, because different weights kind of run between a couple different needles depending on what you're trying to do. So they're like, this is something to go off of. So if it runs easily through this, then do your swatch, and then that'll determine if it's the gauge that matches what your gauge swatch is supposed to be for your project. And I'm like, that is too much for me. Paws and Pearls does not have the time or the energy or the brain power to figure that stuff out. I'm sure it's as easy as pie, but if I have to do anything more than just tell me what it is straightforward, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I am all about not giving myself things that I know I will fail at. And not even know that I will fail out, but it's just like I want that confidence of knowing I'm going to succeed, a foolproof method. So no math for me, no thank you. But I'm going to kind of go off of these kind of fuzzy maths to give me an idea. Some of the things that I'm knitting don't specifically need to have a super duper spot on gauge. For instance, on my, what is this? March, I have, for hopefully finishing up my aunt's socks in March, also starting my cousin's boyfriend. I'm going to commit and get him a gift. I'm going to make him a scarf. Now, I didn't bring it up here with me, but when I was going through all the pattern books, I was writing down like what yarn busting kind of patterns look easy enough to do with what I have on hand and quickly. So I was kind of just like writing down the list of everybody who I need to knit for that I haven't already ironed out a project for. So like my aunt and my brother's fiance, they're getting socks, so I didn't have to worry about them. They already have their yarn, they already have their project lined up. But like my cousin's boyfriend, I kind of figured I wanted to get him, make him a scarf, because I don't know how big his head is, I don't know how big his feet are or his hands, so I figured any kind of object that needs to be super snug or fitted is not going to be good for him this year, but I would do scarves. I haven't made a scarf in a long time, and I know they take a long time, but at least if I had something kind of going on that whole time, even if I have to carry his into later in the year, at least I know I can work on that. And in one of the videos, I do show you a pattern book where I found a pattern that will work based on the yarn that I have available. So I think I'm going to go with that. Now, there are also some things like gloves in that pattern book, and hand warmers, and hats, and I have so much sock yarn that I feel like I could just make this one pattern book year and take these elements and add them to all of the people that I need and just grab a pattern out of this book per person that I don't already have something lined up for. However, this pattern book is using a specific brand's yarn, and I've noticed that a lot where, well, not a lot, but I looked through two pattern books during my perusing pattern book journey before I filmed, and a lot, or not a lot, I keep saying a lot, but a couple of them were specifying certain brand yarns. And some others also specified like a certain brand, but it wasn't like consistently every single pattern. It was just like, here's a pattern with this yarn, here's something else. Here's a pattern with this yarn, here's something else. But then two of them were specifically this brand for every single thing they're doing. And I'm wondering, is that like some kind of sponsorship or partnership or something where they're just like, hey, give us this free yarn and I will tell everybody to use it for my patterns. Have you noticed that? Let me know in the comments if that's something you've like noticed. If you have pattern books, or you get patterns from a specific author, pattern maker, where they're always like promoting like a couple different yarn brands or like one specific yarn brand for everything. That kind of like made me perk up a little bit, like, that's interesting. But anyway, what am I talking about? So yes, so I looked through, I'm thinking I can use my sock yarn, perhaps. It kind of depends on the length of the project, if it has to be like exact or not. But worst comes to worst, I have sock yarn. It's not all the same color, but if I needed to get really creative and funky, I'm sure I can take like one main color and then an accent color that I have that kind of matches, add those together to make a whole new sock weight, or not sock weight, but a whole new yarn weight for another project. Because I'm thinking like there are some bulky projects that should whip up really, really quickly. I'm thinking hats, I'm thinking mittens, gloves, I'm thinking anything that can just go fast, that's not too complicated. And I have yet to explore and finalize all of this, but I did want to let you guys know that that is my plan with my calendar, is just now that I've logged all of my yarn, look through the pattern books again and really piece out what I have and what matches like the yarn weights of these patterns that I think I can do. And then if I don't have the right yarn, can I combine a couple of them to make the right weight that I need to actually do the project? Because I really, really, really want to try to just use everything that I already have instead of buying more, because I'm trying to like not get rid of, but use what I have, because I have just been so like trigger happy with buying yarn because it's all so pretty and cute, and I just think I should like pump the brakes. I know people have their stashes, but I've just been collecting without any real purpose of these things, and it's all been so piecemeal. Like I haven't bought enough for like a larger project, and I've bought too little for like a small project. And because I also want to utilize my pattern books, I need to like match these things together instead of like looking online all the time. I've bought a lot of really cute pattern books. I need to look at what I have and apply it to these pattern books, and then head back onto Ravelry, because I still have a lot of stuff in my library in Ravelry that I haven't used. Some things I've actually purchased, some things that are free. And I just have patterns all over the place. I have some stuff that I've already printed out that I haven't even used yet. But for the purpose of holiday, I definitely want to kind of chip away at what I've already bought. This is money that I have just sitting in my house that is essentially not going anywhere, and I've already spent that money. So I should be using it with what I have, which is books that I've already spent money on, or the books that have been gifted to me as well. So some of this stuff is free, but it's about 50-50 now, like what I've bought and then what's been given to me. So yeah, I just need to work through that. So I thought I'd let you guys know that is my plan. I am not avoiding working on my very first project. I just am going to do that after I film everything else that I needed to share with you before I could actually move into the thick of it, which is planning out the rest of the year with my projects. So with that being said, let me know in the comments, have you been as neurotic as me and have like written down all of the yarn you have? I haven't even, this is like the tip of the iceberg, because like I said, this is just the stuff I haven't used, or I've used like a teeny bit of it because I needed to like finish up a project. But I still have other yarns that I have already used for projects that I just have and either lost the label, or I'm not too sure how much yardage I have left to give an accurate enough estimate to know if I have enough for a project. So that is where I am. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.